All right, guys, here we are, round 2, coffee with a cop. Let's see if these cops can answer some basic questions about principles and rights. How's it going? Doing good. Excuse me. Just going to find a seat.
Oh, sure. And beyond the stuff, like all the teachers are excited to have.
What's that? What's that? My personal media, yeah. This is being video and audio recorded, just so you know.
What's in reference to? A couple questions?
Yeah, I got some questions, concerns.
Can I sit here? Talk to you?
Sure. So whatever you want.
Yeah. You live in town?
Not far by.
No?
I don't live in town now.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know who he was.
No, I don't either. He's got a couple questions we'll answer.
All right, well, let's start off with talking. Well, let me get this going too. All right. To start off, about a month ago, I drove by and I seen a cop, and he was on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a time limit I have to have this conversation, or amount of questions, or because
No,
I don't want to waste
take
time
away
telling
from other-
stories.
Right, sure.
So this is
Sure,
just
if you got a concern, we'll certainly
well,
deal
this is
with it,
this isn't a concern. So I want to start out with a positive story and just tell you, like, something that I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So it was in Philadelphia,
Right.
and I know you guys. It doesn't matter where you are; it's all the same
Right.
job. So, but I'm driving by and I see this guy pulled over. Or at least that's what I think.
An
Right?
officer?
No, there was he had someone. He was behind somebody.
Okay.
Right, and there's the flares out and everything, and I'm driving by, looking, trying to see what's going on. And lo and behold, everyone's out of the car. I'm thinking, oh man, these people are in big trouble. What they do,
Right.
And then I see the cop. He's in the back of the car with the tire iron, taking the tire off and replacing these people's flat tire. So, I want to say, when there's times when police officers, and there's good guys out there who go above and beyond,
Right.
and we definitely, as a community, appreciate people who are willing to do that type of stuff and go above and beyond.
Right.
So, it's just what I want to start away with. I have just a list of questions here that some of them are like more concerns of what I have the right to do and don't have the right to do, and other just concerns about the police in general.
Let me preface our conversation with, I'm not allowed to give interviews without authorization from the chief of police. All right?
Well, that's what this is for, right? To ask questions about concerns?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all this is.
Okay.
Okay, can you tell me in what ways the police uphold the Constitution and protect the rights of the people?
In what ways?
Yeah, in what ways the Medford police?
We follow the Constitution. That's
Follow
how we
the
do it, yeah.
Okay. Do the police believe in equal rights for all people, or are there some people that have greater rights than others based on race, gender, class, career, political affiliation, or are there any other reasons why the police believe somebody would have a right that someone else doesn't?
No. Equal rights for everyone.
All right, I have the oath of office for New Jersey. It says I blank, so you insert your name there.
Mm-hmm.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully, impartially, justly perform all the duties of the office of, I'm not sure if they say police officer there or
Whatever your rank is. It starts with police officer and then...
Okay, so police officer to the best of my ability, and then I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the government established in the United States and in the state under the authority of the people. So I just want to give you my interpretation of this and see if it's accurate to what you would interpret it. It's when it says I will faithfully, impartially, justly perform all the duties of office, that means that you would uphold all the laws. You don't get to pick and choose which laws that you uphold.
Right.
And that it applies to all people equally.
Applies to all people equally.
All right. And then at the bottom it says under the authority of the people. So my question about that is, do you believe that all legitimate government rights are derived from the people?
All legitimate government rights?
The rights of,
what do you mean?
Is there a right of the government? It says in the oath of office
Right.
that it is, let's see, governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people. Is all the authority of the government, is it from the people? Is it derived from the people, or does the government have authority outside of what the people have permission to govern?
It's supposed to be the authority of the people, right?
Right.
Do you believe it is?
Yes, that's what I'm asking
yeah.
you, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
The politicians are voted in by the people.
Okay.
And lawmakers, right?
Right. Okay, can you delegate a right that you do not have?
Delegate a right that you do not have. I don't understand.
Okay, so your home, you have the right to your property.
Right.
So you have the right to delegate that. So you could give me a key to your house. You could say, hey, buddy, make yourself at home.
Okay.
Here's the key. You can enter the fridge if you want. You can invite guests over.
Right.
It's make yourself at home. It's your mi casa, you casa, right?
Right.
But you can also say, don't enter my house, and if you do, you're going to get shot.
Right.
But I can't delegate that right. I can't go to someone and be like, oh, Patron. Hey, you can go over to Patron's house. I said so. Right. But
Correct.
you can give me the right to have a friend do that. But I can't do that without your permission.
Property, right.
So can you do you believe it's possible to delegate if you don't have the right? Can you delegate it to somebody else to have?
So you mean, do I think you can give someone the right to go to someone else's property? Is that what you're asking me?
Right. A right that I don't have, can I give to somebody else?
I don't think so. No, I don't believe you can do that, right?
Right. I don't believe you can do that either.
Okay.
All right. And do you believe that the police help protect people's property
Absolutely.
from theft?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you believe that I have the right to initiate force or violence on a person who hasn't harmed anyone or threatened to harm anyone?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have the right to initiate force or use violence on someone who hasn't harmed anyone or threatened to harm anyone? All right. So about a month ago, I was pulled over and I didn't have a headlight on was the reason for the pullover.
Didn't have them on, or you had
No,
one
I
on?
had one out.
Okay.
So the police officer, he came behind me and pulled me over. When he turned his lights on, was there an obligation for me to pull over to the side of the road? Okay, and if I didn't pull over, what would be the appropriate response for the police on that?
If you didn't pull over,
Right.
you would have been charged with not pulling over. You could get charged with eluding
right.
the officer.
Okay, and then how would you go about that though? What would be the response of that officer?
At the time, or
Yeah, at the
after
time.
that? Well, the officer would have turned his lights off and ID'd you as the driver, and then signed a complaint against you in court.
Okay, and if I refuse to come to court,
Then the judge issues you a warrant.
okay, and then if I refuse to follow the warrant,
There's bail on that, and then you could potentially go to jail.
okay. So there would be people who would use violence on me and take me to jail when I haven't initiated
Well,
force on anyone or
well,
used violence
well.
on anyone?
Why would we need to use violence on someone if we're just arresting them for a warrant?
Well, what if I decide not to go?
So you're resisting with violence?
Am I resisting with violence?
I don't know,
I'm
are
not.
you?
I'm not going. So if you're taking me against my will, you don't find that to be violence?
Okay. That's your opinion? Okay.
Okay. So about a week ago, I'm driving down the road, and it's raining out, and I look in my rearview mirror. There's someone behind me, but I can hardly see him. He doesn't have his
Right.
lights on.
Okay.
Right? So I wait till we get to a point where there's two lanes so I can get next to him and yo, your lights. I tell the guy his lights are on. He turns his lights on, right? Would there be a time that I would be able to use violence and force on him for not having his lights on? If he decided not to pull over and not to listen to that
You could sign a
command?
complaint against them,
And would I be able to then,
and then
at some point?
it would get turned over to us.
Okay, so the police have that monopoly on the initiation of force, and that's something I wouldn't be able to do.
The monopoly on the initiation of force?
Right, because I
don't know.
wouldn't be able to initiate force on that gentleman.
Well, no. Why would you want to do that?
But the police would be able to initiate force on me if
No,
I
you
didn't
would
pull
just-
over.
You would just sign a ticket against them.
Right, but then if I didn't comply to that, I end up getting a warrant for my arrest, which is
Okay.
violence.
I don't understand where you're getting violence from a warrant for your arrest.
You don't understand where that's violence because someone's taking you. You don't think kidnapping's violence?
No, it's not kidnapping.
Well, that's what you call when you take someone against their consent,
All
right?
right. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I do. Okay. If I were to walk into this store right now and I was wearing the firearm that you have on my side in the same fashion that you do, what would be the appropriate response
Are
for
you
the
allowed to do that in New Jersey?
What would be your response to it? That's my
Are you
question.
allowed to do that in New Jersey?
Right, that's my question.
I'm asking you a question. Are you allowed to do that in New Jersey? Are you allowed to wear a firearm openly in New Jersey? Even if you have a permit or not?
I don't have any permits. I'm not in law enforcement.
So you're not allowed to wear a firearm in New Jersey.
Okay, so what would be the response to
You
that?
would get arrested.
I'll get arrested. And what if I'm a man with a firearm? So what if at that time I did anything in my power not to allow you to take my firearm and to arrest me?
I don't know. I'm not in that position right now.
Would there be would you guys leave me alone at that point and allow me to keep the firearm, or would you continue
no, because
that,
you'd be
that
breaking the
pursuit?
law. It'd be a violation against the law, right? The laws of New Jersey, right?
The code, yes.
The code?
Yes, I'd be in
Yes.
violation of code. Okay. And then if you were here by yourself, right? And I were to see you with that firearm, and I was to do everything in my power to remove that firearm from you, what would be appropriate action for you to take in that instance?
I'm not allowed to wear the firearm? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying you in your very position that you're in right now.
Right.
Police
If you
officer,
tried to take it
Medford.
from me,
Right, what would be the appropriate?
you would get arrested.
I'll get arrested, but what if I was attempting to steal your firearm and I was doing, you didn't have the ability to arrest me? Would you have the right to use deadly force in that instance?
Why would I not have the authority to arrest you?
I didn't say I didn't have the authority. I said the ability. You're here by yourself.
Okay.
And there's a guy. Maybe I'm bigger. I'm stronger than you. I have. I know some martial arts or something along those lines.
I would use deadly force if that person got the gun out of my holster.
Well, if I had the gun out of your holster, it'd be a little late, wouldn't it?
It may be, yeah.
So if I'm attempting to get the gun out of your holster and you have the gun, I'm attempting to take it. You wouldn't use deadly force in that instant.
If it was still in my holster, how would it be deadly force?
No. It's out of your holster. I'm trying to take it out of your hands.
Okay. Yeah.
It would be appropriate.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Okay. So you believe that it's appropriate for the police to use deadly force?
Okay. I told you in the beginning of this, I'm not here for an interview. If you have a couple questions, I can answer them. I'm not authorized to give you an interview.
Okay.
How you feel about it.
Okay.
All right.
But it is true that I wouldn't have the right to carry that gun, and I would get arrested for that. But then I also would get arrested for doing the same thing to you that you did to me. So in both actions, I would get arrested for taking the action that you would do.
Okay.
Is that true or false?
Do you have any other questions?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any other specific questions? Right.
It goes.
I'm not getting into an interview with you. I told you that before. And this is turning into an interview on my thoughts and beliefs and the rules of the government.
No, I'm asking as a police officer, not your personal. I am not interested in your personal thoughts at all.
I can't get into an interview with you without authorization from the chief of police.
All right. Are the police? You said that police are here to protect people's property.
Yes.
Right. Are the police protecting people's property when they enforce tax codes?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that question. I can't answer that question.
If somebody was taking property against somebody,
What's your name again?
you can call me Ed.
I can call you Ed.
You call me Ed.
Okay. You're going to have to apply to the chief of police for an interview. All right. I can't just give you an interview.
So you can answer concerns at Coffee with a Cop, the place where a citizen can feel comfortable talking to a cop.
Okay. Can we take a break for a couple minutes? Do you mind?
What do you need a break for?
Seriously?
Yeah, are these questions too hard? You said
No,
I asked in the beginning if there's a time limit or amount of questions.
No, I just asked you to take a break. You can't do that?
I mean, I can take a break when this is over.
How many questions do you have?
I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
It didn't matter how many questions in the beginning, but
No,
now
it
that
didn't.
these questions point out that you guys have different standards for yourself and you believe that you have rights that other people don't, now I can't answer all the questions. I can't ask all the questions. Is that what it is?
I'll answer your questions if I can. I certainly can. Go ahead.
Okay. So, do you know what an infringement is?
I know, not off the top of my head. Sorry.
Okay. Here is a definition of an infringement. Could you tell me how you disarming me if I had a firearm is not an
I can't
infringement?
answer that question. Sorry.
Do you know what law is?
What law is?
Yes.
Yep.
Could you tell me what law is?
I know what it is. Yes.
Would you know
I
it?
can't give you a definition there.
All right. Does law change whether or not someone wrote the law on paper?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Thermodynamics is law, correct?
I'm not sure what thermodynamics is.
Okay, thermodynamics is a physical law. There's three laws of thermodynamics, and it states that there is the first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Okay.
That it only gets transferred.
Okay.
And it's a law of thermodynamics. It's a law whether or not it's written down, and then it's a law after it was written down. And if I were to write something else down, that law would still be true, because law, here goes the definition of it for you, just in case you're not sure, is something that's established, something that's been laid down.
Where's this definition from?
From legaldictionary.com.
Legal dictionary? Okay.
Yeah. And this is the secondary part of law from legaldictionary.com. I've underlined a couple parts for you here. Law, without an article, properly implies a science or system of principle or rules of human conduct. So like thermodynamics or how people get along.
Right.
So the human conduct would be like the Constitution.
Okay.
And then the other part would be like natural laws, like physics. It may happen that a statute may be passed in violation of law, that is, of the fundamental law or constitution of a state, that is the prerogative of the courts in such cases declare it void, or in other words, to declare it to be not law. So it's possible for something to be in your codes, like you said that it's against the law for me to have a gun,
Okay.
right? But it's not against the law, because the law is right here, right? The Second Amendment of the Constitution. So it's clearly not against the law, right? And Right, no. To carry a gun, to bear arms. Right?
Right.
It doesn't say to own, it says to bear. And it's
Right.
not against your rights to have a gun right now. So if it's not against your rights to have a gun right here, right now, and I can't delegate a right that I can't have, and your rights are delegated by the people, that means that you're violating my right if you were to not allow me to have the same right that you're doing right now. So it either means one or two things. Either you don't have that right, because the people can't delegate a right they don't have, or you're violating people's rights.
Okay.
Which one is
Is that
it?
what you think?
No, that's the facts.
That's your interpretation.
No, that's your opinion now.
And your opinion as well.
Yeah, but it's your opinion too, because you told me earlier that you cannot delegate a right that you don't have.
Okay.
So if the people don't have the right to carry a gun right now, if the people don't have it, then you don't have the ability to delegate that right now, do you?
Okay.
So, could you explain to me, you say you uphold the Constitution, could you explain to me how a routine traffic stop is consistent with upholding the Fourth Amendment?
Again, I'm not going to get into a discussion in an interview with you about that. You have another question?
Yeah, would the police here in Medford, would they arrest somebody or give them penalties for possession of marijuana?
Yes.
Now, if you're a police officer in Denver, would you arrest somebody for possession of marijuana?
I'm not a police officer in Denver.
Would they arrest somebody
I
for?
don't know.
Well, it's recreationally legal there.
Right. Do they arrest for certain amounts in certain areas and certain things where it's illegal to have it in certain possessions? Do they? I don't know. I'm not a police officer.
No, they don't. They don't arrest for possession of marijuana.
Okay.
But would you if you were there?
No.
No, but you do here. Okay. So earlier established that people have the same rights, right? Based on job, like if you're a cop or you're not a cop, and based on geographical location, you still have the same rights. So if the people in Denver have the same rights as the people here, why would you violate the people's rights
Why
in
do
New
people
Jersey?
in Denver have the same rights as the people here?
Because people have,
What did you call it? Code? You called it code, criminal code?
which is not law, right?
Right? Criminal code is not law? Is that what you said? No, I'm asking you, why would a New Jersey officer arrest somebody in Denver?
No, I said if you were an officer in Denver.
Okay, I don't know what the all laws are in Denver.
It's recreationally legal to smoke marijuana in Denver.
Okay. So if you use it recreationally, then an officer wouldn't arrest you, right?
Right.
Okay.
But you would here.
Okay, because it's still illegal here.
So the people in Denver have different rights than the people
Yeah,
in New Jersey?
Different, yes.
Okay, but earlier you said that people have the same rights no matter where they are.
I didn't say no matter where they are, but okay.
That was part of the question, so we can go back.
Okay.
Do police believe in equal rights for all people?
What's your next question? I'm not sitting here and arguing.
I'm not planning on arguing. It's just asking questions.
Okay.
But
I told you I wasn't going to give you a formal interview without going to the chief of police.
Right.
I have a couple questions.
it's not that I wanted to argue. I'm just pointing out that you did say that earlier, and now you're saying that you didn't.
Right, well,
and I have the question I read that you agreed to.
Around
I'm not
say
twisting
that
words.
I'm talking about people in Denver.
Right, but I did say according to where they live.
Understood. I'm sorry.
So you do believe that people have different rights based on career?
Go to your next question, please.
Okay. Would you believe in the Senate, or let's see. Do you know what crime is?
Yes.
What is crime? Can you tell me what is crime?
I know what it is. Go ahead. Next question, please.
Here goes definition of crime.
Okay.
There's 3 elements that need to be had in order for there to be a crime.
And this is from your legal dictionary?
Right.
Okay.
So, in order for there to be a crime, you need to have the act or conduct, something that someone did, right? The individual's mental state is the second element of a crime, and the third one is the causation. So, what actually happened? What damage did they do? What property damage did they? Did they hit the person and cause pain in their face, or what's the causation? So, would you agree in the sentiment that we're in the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay. Well, I told you I wasn't getting into an interview with you. If you have a couple specific questions, I'll certainly answer them.
Okay. Right now, we have over 70% we have the highest prison population in the world.
Right. In New Jersey?
No, in the United States.
Oh,
And with it being the highest prison population in the world, 70% of the inmates are in there for victimless crimes.
Like possession, like drug charges?
Things that don't have a victim.
Okay.
Could you tell me, with the third element of a crime being causation, how is it possible?
What's your definition of causation? What do
Causation.
you mean by that?
There has to be a body of evidence in order.
Okay.
There has to be something that you've done. There has to be some harm that you've done. You have to
Okay.
cause damage or harm to someone else to
Okay.
commit a crime. And if haven't
So
caused
there's
harm
no
to anyone,
crimes if you don't cause injury to anybody.
according to the law, according to the elements of what a crime is.
Okay.
Now, there's people that are in jail. That's what I'm curious. How is it possible that there's people that that over 70% of the population in the land of the free are rotting in jail for victimless crimes?
Where's those statistics from?
This is very easily statistics find on the
I'm just
internet.
asking.
Google.
Okay. I don't know why.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
It's because of people like you violating people's rights.
Okay.
Okay. In what circumstances would it be appropriate to use deadly force on a citizen?
Again, I'm not getting into an interview.
This is not an interview. This is police policy. There has to be a time police use deadly force, correct?
They do.
Okay, so this is not an interview. This has to do with policy, and this is what this is about.
Okay.
So I'm asking, when is it appropriate for you to use deadly force?
When the situation dictates that it's appropriate.
What would be a situation that would dictate?
I can't give you a definition. I can't give you a scenario. When do you think it would be? Do you think it would ever be appropriate to use deadly force?
Yes.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I believe if the officer believes that his life is being threatened, or that someone's going to use violence on him,
Okay. What kind of violence?
physical.
You do? Okay. Right.
Yeah, not verbal violence.
Right,
Obviously,
but
if because someone's cussing
but
you out, then you should suck it up.
Like physical violence with their hands or their feet, or with
Yeah,
a deadly weapon,
potentially someone could use deadly force with their hands. I mean,
Absolutely.
Look at you. Look how much bigger you are than me, right? You could potentially beat me up with your fist. I don't know how well of a fighter you are, but you're a big guy.
All right.
So my question is, but
So there are times.
I didn't say there wasn't.
No, okay.
I was asking you when it was.
If you thought there was or wasn't.
Right.
Times. There are certainly times, and it happens all the time, unfortunately. Right.
It's very unfortunate. Okay, and what circumstances would it be appropriate for a citizen to use deadly force against a cop?
Do you think there's situations that a citizen can use deadly force against a police officer?
Do you?
I'm asking you.
Of course I do.
What would be a scenario, a situation?
It would be the same exact scenario as when a cop could use deadly force on a citizen, right?
Okay.
Correct?
So you think it's okay
If we all have equal rights.
right? But do you think it's okay if someone's robbing a bank and uses deadly force against the officer because they're trying to stop them?
Now, the person robbing the bank, did they initiate force on someone or use violence? Because in the beginning I said, when is it right to initiate force or use violence on someone who hasn't threatened to use force or hasn't used force on someone? Someone robbing a bank, are they threatening to use force or using force? So then that would be appropriate to use force on that person, right?
Right. But if they walked into the bank and just said, "I want all your money," there's no threat. I'm asking you, is there any threat
Yeah,
there?
no, that's a threat of violence. If someone's
Even if they're unarmed?
theft is violence. We already discussed that you can use violence with your
I
fists.
got it. Okay.
But my question is when is it appropriate for a citizen to use deadly force against a police officer?
I don't think it is.
It's never appropriate. So it's appropriate for police to use it sometimes, but it's never appropriate the other way around.
Criteria.
Okay, but there is no criteria that a police should have deadly force used against them.
Do you think there is criteria for that?
Well, obviously, when you're threatening someone's life, the same exact criteria that it is for police to use deadly force on a citizen. Because we all have equal rights, don't we?
Okay. All right.
Would a police officer ever have a right to arrest me for not identifying myself?
Well, you have to identify yourself if you're operating a motor vehicle. If you're walking down the road and refuse to identify yourself, then no.
Okay, but if I refused after getting pulled over,
Then you could be
I would be subject to arrest. Okay, and what would be the scenario that I would be able to arrest a police officer and lock him in a cage for not showing me ID?
Okay, I don't know. That's a good question.
There wouldn't be a scenario for that?
It doesn't. What do you mean? This isn't ID enough?
No, it doesn't have your home address on it. It doesn't have, right? I don't.
Okay.
So, is there a scenario where I'd be able to?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Okay, and when should I obey the commands of a police officer?
I don't know. I can't answer that question for you.
Okay, and when should a police officer obey my commands?
I'm obeying your commands right now. I'm talking to you, aren't I?
You're not obeying commands. We're having a conversation.
Okay.
That's kind of, I'm not commanding you to do anything.
Okay.
Okay, would it be something that I could report as a crime if someone forced me to get naked and so they could watch me?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. When I was arrested during the check-in process, against my consent, the police officer told me to take my pants off.
The police officer did, or the corrections officer?
Whatever. It was in the
jail?
In the jail. Right?
Okay.
So this man in uniform, I don't know his exact job description, but he forced me to take my pants off. When I told him that I did not want to do that, he said I'd use violent force, put on some gloves, and force my fingers up there to check it.
Okay.
So at that time, I took my pants off in the, under the threat of violence.
Okay.
But I'm wondering, is that something that I can report as a crime then for sexual assault?
I guess you could, yeah, to the jail.
I have to report it to the people who assaulted me?
You
Is there any other crime? You said I have to report it to the jail?
I said you could report it to the jail, absolutely.
To the people who assaulted me, I report the assault?
To that exact person?
Well,
What did his supervisor say?
It's institutionalized assault. They're assaulting everyone.
Okay, all right.
Every single man that goes into jail is getting their pants. Yeah, they're forcing them to take their pants off so they can look into their butthole, which is pretty disgusting. And but you arrest people and you bring them to that. So if I was, let's say there's a girl that's traveling too fast, I stop her on the side of the road. She doesn't show me ID. Would I then be able to take her somewhere where they would get her naked and look in her butthole?
As a civilian, you mean?
Right.
No, you wouldn't be able to take her somewhere.
Why not?
Because you don't have the authority to take her somewhere.
Would that be sexual assault?
Yeah, maybe if you do that to her, yeah, absolutely.
But was it sexual assault when the police do it to me?
No, it doesn't fit the same criteria.
Why not?
Because that's their interior policy at the jail.
Okay, but what if my company that I work for has a policy to assault women?
Well, then that would be a problem.
It would be a problem, but it would be legal. Well, I want to know if
I don't have any more answers to it because again, we're going round and round.
All right,
and I don't want to go round and round.
All right. Well, there's for the police test to get into the test. There's a minimum score that they can hit, or if they don't hit the minimum score, they'll fail. But they also fail if they hit too high of a score.
What test is this?
This is a police intelligence test. I'll leave a link in the article in the video.
Okay.
But why do you believe that the police would have a maximum intelligence level for their officers?
I don't know.
Do you think it's that they would violate people's rights mindlessly like you do?
I've never heard of that before, so I don't really know why that would be on there.
All right. Do you think that the rape problem in prisons today has anything to do with the police sexually assaulting all the inmates?
That I don't know. I can't answer that question for you.
Do you believe that victimized people are more likely to victimize someone?
That I don't know. I don't have that.
You should look into it because there's plenty of stats on that. And people who are raped are much more likely to rape, and all the people going into jail get sexually assaulted with your help. So,
so in turn, they're coming out and victimizing other people?
Yeah, so basically to sum up the conversation, what I'd like to tell you is if your oath is to uphold the Constitution and protect people's rights, your job demands you with a lot of the codes that you have to enforce to violate people's rights. So the best thing you can do if you want to protect the rights of the people would be to quit your job.
Okay.
So if you could do that for us, that would be a real nice to help protect our rights.
Link?
No, I don't.
No link?
No link.
Alrighty.
All right, thanks for the interview.
Thanks, Ed. Nice meeting you.
Yep.
Take care of yourself, alright?
We'll go to the Girl Scout one. That's what we did. The Incredibles. You know the movie The Incredibles?
Boy, oh boy, that was exciting.
So they can't take a razor.
Throw this fruit away. Well, that was Coffee with the Cop. I'm just keeping it rolling at this point in case they're following me because I don't trust these guys. Same reason why I don't have my wallet on me right now. Same reason why I'm not parked in this parking lot. Parked a quarter of a mile that way. So, once I'm pretty confident I'm not being trailed by Medford police, then I'm going to shut this live stream off. But I still see two people looking at it. Look at this. Look at them. That's not a parking spot. I should write them a ticket. Alrighty, I think I'm in the clear. Adios.